can't see where we are on the floor, what should you do? Move, thank you, yes, move so you can.
I wasn't here Thursday.
I know, Shelby, so we're gonna pull you into the plan here. Braden, may I borrow your pencil?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.
All right, Thomas, do you remember what we started on Thursday when we were down here? What did we begin with? Do you recall?
No.
Anybody? Jason?
A chart like for the evidence and then like what category it would go into.
Okay, so we started sorting evidence, right, Adam?
Yeah.
You want to fill in anything else that Jason didn't say?
You made us like read off things that sorry.
Right, so they read off evidence, and we decided maybe what reasons that evidence would easily fit into. And then we came up with certain numbers. What did you come up with? What were your 3 reasons that you finally finished with, Olivia? Health? Okay. Where's your sheet? Where's that handout? Huh? Do you have your handout? Where is it? This one. All right. Let's grab that. Okay, so you came up with your claim for competitive sports and you said health is one of your reasons, right? How many pieces of evidence did you have for health? Do you remember? 2? All right, so let's look at those 2 pieces of evidence. Find them. Because once we've sorted our evidence and figured out what our reasons are, now we need to start ranking and figuring out what evidence is the best. Okay.
Let's get kids active. And obesity, epidemic, and diabetes.
Okay. Oh, so the one about the obesity epidemic and being active to counteract that. Okay. So, does that sound like good, solid evidence, Autumn? Getting kids active helps decrease the rate of obesity and helps people not get diabetes quite so early. Okay, so let's look at that chart. Zach, do you think that evidence about obesity and diabetes and getting kids active falls under the category of health? Does it make sense there? Definitely. Reese, is it hard to argue against?
Yeah,
Why?
because like if you have like if you want your health to improve, you have to get active and increase your heart.
Absolutely. Autumn.
It's also hard to argue against because you can't turn it around. You can't make it like negative.
Excellent. Yeah. Who is going to want to say, yeah, obesity is great, let's have more of it? Right? No one's going to say that, are they? So the fact that this really talks about a very specific piece of evidence that gets at a point that's really important helps us to know that it's strong. Okay? Is it compelling? Is it evidence that's really going to help prove my point? I think so. Absolutely. We all want people to be healthy, right? We want kids to be active. Okay? Is it strong enough to keep my argument going? What do you think, Bailey? You don't know or no?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because I think you need more reason.
So it can't be my only piece of evidence, right? Maybe it's one of my pieces of evidence, but it can't be the only reason for my argument. Okay, so active kids, decreasing obesity, decreasing diabetes. We have established that that's probably a good piece of evidence to include in my outline. What's your next piece of evidence about health? Because Bailey says, hey, yeah, it sounds good, but it can't be the only one. And I think she's got a really good point. So I'm basing my whole argument on one piece of evidence. Is it going to be very strong, Natalia? Is it going to be very convincing if I only have one piece of evidence to support my reason? Definitely not. Did you, Heaven? Did you have a health one?
I don't know if this is like health, but I just had years of relentless training had cause some overuse.
Oh, overuse injuries. Paul, do you think that has to do with health? If somebody is constantly training in a particular sport, that after a while they have an injury because they've overused certain muscles, could that fall under the reason of health? Definitely. Is it strong? Does it match that path of reasoning? Is it compelling? Jason, is it hard to argue against? What do you mean? So then we have to really think about our evidence, don't we? Okay, so if she's saying, wait, overuse injuries are a problem, is that in favor of competitive sports or against them? Against them. So it's like, okay, well, we've got to look at our evidence really, really carefully when we're coming up with our reasons and when we're ranking them. Okay, but I'm glad you mentioned that one. Hold on to that thought for just a second. How many reasons? We need 3 to 5 reasons. How much evidence do you think we need for each reason? Probably 3. Yeah, maybe 4. So 1 isn't going to be enough. Is 2 okay?
If it's strong enough to keep
It's not great. Yeah, I want at least 3 solid pieces of evidence to support the reason that I have. So if you guys only come up with 2, what does that tell you? Gotta find more. Absolutely. Okay, like the fancy cooking shows, fast forward, we put it in the oven for 10 seconds, we come out, it's all done. They have health down, they've got their 3 pieces of evidence ranked, they know exactly the best evidence that they're gonna use. And Mia says, hey you guys, let's go back to that piece of evidence that Heaven said about the fact that overuse injuries are a problem with competitive sports. And she said, hey, red flag, wait a minute, that's a con. Well, do we need to think about the con when we're creating all of our information?
Yeah.
Why?
because it makes your opinion better, and you can, maybe if it's possible, you could like change it to a pro.
Okay, because we have this, take a look at the screen. We have the yes, but. We have to deal with the counterclaim. Yeah, the con side would say overuse injuries are a big deal and that's a problem. But, Bailey?
But kids get to decide if they overuse.
Right, but athletes can decide if they're overusing their muscles and that's within their control. Which means competitive sports is still a good thing. Yeah, we have to take a look at the counterclaim. And we have to look at what the other side of the argument would say. Wait a minute, you say that health is really a good reason to be in competitive sports, but what about this problem with overuse injuries? If kids are overusing muscles and getting injuries, that would mean competitive sports is bad. Yes, but our side in favor of competitive sports is better because
They have choice if they're overusing their muscle.
there we go, because
They
student
should know when it's
athletes
hurting.
have the ability to control that, maybe? Do I need evidence to counteract that other claim?
No.
Or can it just be my own logic? What's gonna be stronger? What's gonna be more convincing? Evidence. Yeah, definitely. So as I go through this process of ranking my evidence and adding it to my sheet with my reasons, I am also going to need to put in that counterclaim. Yes, the other side would say this, but my evidence proves my side is better. Peter, you had your hand up.
I was gonna say for that piece of evidence, if you looked at like the percents of if it actually happened, if it was a low percentage, you could use it.
Absolutely. So if I've got statistical information and percentages that come back and say, well, in fact, only 3% of athletes have overuse injuries, then clearly competitive sports is okay because it's a very small number. Absolutely.
If their arm is hurting or something, they should know.
Okay, so you can bring in a lot of other evidence that really, again, goes back and says, yeah, the other side might say this, but our side is better, and here's the evidence to support it. Does that make sense? Okay, so your job today, ladies and gentlemen, is to keep going on this process, sorting your evidence. What are the reasons that can be the categories I've created based on the evidence I have? And once you have those 3 reasons laid out, okay, now let's look through all that evidence. What's the best? What's the most solid? What's the most compelling evidence to support my claim? And then I can get to that little counter argument part 2 and deal with that counterclaim. Make sense? Questions everybody needs to hear? All right, if you are still confused or unsure where to start this, join me down here and we'll go through it together. But if you think your group is ready to keep rolling, head to your desk and get started.